Hello, my name's James. I'm a portrait photographer from Portsmouth in the UK. You've probably not heard of me, and I welcome you to this, the latest video on the Portrait of a Wrestler channel. We are looking at portfolio reviews today, and all the way from the United States of America, Stephen Phillips has kindly asked for a portfolio review. We're looking through his website. He studied photojournalism in Washington, DC, and as we can see here, a real variety of work from portraits. Got some really interesting stuff here on Antarctica, actually, some really nice penguins there, some really colourful music work here from in and around the music scene, and a really striking image here in the motorsports section I saw earlier. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Look at that. Amazing image there of a burnt out car. You can find Stephen Phillips on Instagram there, Phillips photo. Give him a little follow as I'm about to do there. And again, a real variety of work sort of coming through there. Stephen contacted us, and just a quick personal word on this before we go forward with the portfolio review. Submitted 10 images that we're going to look at now. Just have a look at them and see if we can just offer some advice going forward. I think critiquing is one of the hardest things you can offer as a professional photographer. It's definitely one of the hardest things that you can take as a professional photographer as well. It's very difficult to sort of like hear feedback sometimes, but it's a really important stage of the process. It's a really important stage to sort of allow other opinions to come in so that you can see stuff that you wouldn't see because you're so close to the image. Stephen, I absolutely applaud you for going through with this, for offering yourself up for review, and I hope we can get some really good feedback for you, and I'm sure we're going to see some great images. Again, I'm going into the portfolio critique completely blind. I've just downloaded the images, but I haven't actually looked at them. So let's start off with image number one here. We have a portrait image here. This is quite a nice take on the portrait image. Behind this, almost like a I'm sure it's not a cherry blossom, but it looks like a cherry blossom. That's what I would describe that in the UK over here. Nice placement in the frame here. This is sort of thinking outside the box. I think this is something a little bit different, and I do like the low placement here of our subject in the frame. What we're wearing in terms of clothes. Let's talk about that just for a second. See what we've done with regards to the deflection in the glasses, and the glasses there reflecting the branches to give us this really interesting pattern back. The blue is very striking there from those glasses. It's actually very distracting. It's almost very distracting there, and it doesn't really marry up tonally with anything else in the picture. Now, something like the glasses is actually something very easy for you to go into. I say easy. Once you learn how to do it, it's very, anything's easy once you've learned how to do it. It's very easy to find ways to learn how to tone down maybe the tonality in those glasses, and try and find a color that maybe might marry up with that subtle pink a little better. Have a look at your color wheel. Have a look at your complementary colors and colors that work on a tertiary level as well. Just see if you can have a little bit of a play around there, and just see if we can maybe do something that's just a little bit more subtle. That's what we're looking for, I think, there. It's a shame that the logo's been cropped out at the bottom here. I like the dynamic placement at the bottom, but it's a shame because the logo's there, and because I believe it says Washington. I think that's actually quite a nice sort of statement as far as the image goes. So I'd maybe look at either keeping it in or cropping it all the way out. One of the two. Good shallow depth of field has drawn our attention to the subject in the foreground, which is key and really nice. So if we bring the guide in here around about halfway, which should be just about there, it's just on that side of the cheek, so it's not properly centrally in the frame, which gives it just that slightly lopsided nature to the picture. In addition, we've actually got some nice sky around our subject here. Just see on here where we've just got some separation, but then by the head, the actual branches sort of come in and just sort of touch the head, and maybe just if these bits of flowers here weren't touching his head, our subject would even be even more separated from the background and might just isolate our subject just a little bit more. But a really nice take on that. Nice colours throughout. Good lifting of the head into the light, so we've got no shadows on the face. It's an alternate look, and I like that. I like alternate looks. So here we are. PayPal Crash Funk, support appreciated. Good angle again. So we're doing this thing again. I think when we're, like I said, you come out of our photojournalism sort of course there in Washington quite fairly recently, and certainly in the last few years, and that I like that, because when you come out of these things and you're just out in the world of photography, you're trying different things and you're trying different angles. Now we've chosen a point of focus here on the band in the background. And we can see clearly the faces of what we got 4 there. So the drummer in the background, then 1, 2, 3 in the foreground here. But because we've chosen that, it means that our logo here, our banner here in the foreground is out of focus, soft. It's okay because we can still read it. But I'm not sure that's potentially you can look at it one or two ways. Either focus on the thing in the foreground, or focus on the elements in the background. And maybe because it's so dominant in the foreground, and that this is actually like a moment in time in terms of this fundraising effort, maybe the item in the foreground maybe served more of a purpose. Because what you have to do is work out, okay, well, are the expressions, is what's happening in the background creating enough of an impact for me to focus on it? And I'm not sure it is. Like I said, I really like the expression of the guy here, but I'm not overly convinced about the other guys and whether we're really sort of like getting any sort of movement or mood within there. The wide angle and that slight angle is just leaning, our lines are sort of coming all different funny angles in here. The sign in the foreground's at an angle, this signpost here is at an angle, and then you've got all the angles of the houses in the background, so it's all just a little bit juxtaposed. I think maybe a tighter crop just to take that element out on the right hand side, have a look at that and make it look simpler. But it is a moment in time. It's a great angle, it's a great low angle. We've got down nice and low here to give us a completely different perspective. And all of the elements of the composition are working fairly well together. Although they're working against each other, they're working fairly well together. Maybe again, I just go back to my original point. When you're working with signs to draw attention, you've got to work out when you're picking your focus point, and what am I trying to draw attention to in this photo. Next one here, fitness photo. I saw this one on the website when I had a flick through earlier. So we've got a use, I believe, of an off-camera flash here. Let's just see if we can go close into the eyes just to see. So maybe on camera left here, there's an off-camera flash. Now, it's a good, strong portrait for a fitness studio. So we've got we've got a guy front and center here for me. The crossing of the arms making everything look bigger, which is really cool thing to do. Some sort of backlighting here has actually happened on the side of the head and the face here. That's probably coming from the fluorescent lights at the top. Now the fluorescent lighting in the background has lent us a kind of a yellowy tone to the background, which if it's on brand is kind of okay. But attention to detail here, and attention to detail in the cropping. Look at these tiles at the top here. These broken tiles that we have here. They're slightly dented and they're just distracting, and just bringing that crop down just a little bit, which we can try and do here for you, would maybe just simplify and make that gym look cleaner. Because remember, when we're doing these corporate portraits, not only are we advertising the services of the people who we're photographing and trying to tell a story in terms of their professionalism and what their role is within the company, but also, if you're doing it in the building and in the gym, you're showing off the gym as well. So you've got to make that gym look as pristine and as you know, as professional as possible. Some element of it's difficult when you're working with this weights equipment, because it's and I've done it. It's difficult because the big stuff you can't move around anyway. But we've got little things here like the kettlebells here are super colourful and distracting here. This element of red that's just hung off of here, little bit distracting there as well. So when we're actually looking at that corporate palette, we can see that we've got the yellow stripe in the background. That's okay, that's on brand, but then everything else is just a little bit of a distraction against it. It's just little attention to detail, little bit of a lower crop. The lighting on the face is quite harsh. Have a look at and what I mean by harsh, sorry, is I mean we've got a hot spot here on the forehead. You've got some darker shadows down here on the left hand side. Have a look at feathering light. Try and find some videos on feathering light, and just work out what that means and how you can use that to soften your portraits. And also have a look at have a look at softboxes and the way that they can alter, they can modify light as well, and also how close a light is to a subject and how far away a light is from a subject will also affect the way that the subject's face look when you're shooting it with off-camera flash. But yeah, I just think a tighter crop on this one would probably have lent itself a little bit better to this shot. What a lovely moment this is. Leap year party. No, I've no idea what a leap year party is, but I'm sure it's a fun thing. It's probably something on that 28th of February, isn't it, I suppose? You know, the date happens once only 4 years sort of thing. It's actually a really, really nice moment, and we've managed to dull down the background so that we've got a focus on this little moment in the foreground. Clearly the party's in full swing. I quite like the tonality through it. These orange lights up here aren't actually that distracting. They're actually a nice leading line into the background of the picture. Got these little subtle orange lights in the background as well, and the tonality of the drink and the hair is all working together. There's a crop through the face on the side here. Probably just wouldn't have looked to crop somewhere else there, either in or out, and I would have said out because everything else is... You need that element of congestion around, but not so that it's distracting from what's actually happening here. A nice moment, good timing, good use of a little bit of flash there, just to knock in there onto the subject. But just again, just have a look at that crop. And the tonality on it's really, really cool. Just a nice little moment from that party. I like that. That's that photojournalistic approach you were talking about from your CV there, which is really cool. This is good observation again. And again, what you've done here for, you know, I think we're looking at, you know, every time we're talking about these photos, we're talking about you looking at things in a different way and trying to photograph them in a different way and trying to choose a different angle. And what we've done here is we've taken a step back, slightly longer lens, shooting through the trees, these leading lines coming in. Nice wide aperture again, so that our focus is very heavily on the foreground here. Let's work on this hand. And hands are gonna, if you're gonna continue and you're gonna have a lifetime career in photography, hands are gonna bug you until the last time you put a camera down. This back of the hand here is very flat against the face. The thumb is covering the mouth. Let's just, you can just soften it just a little bit. As soon as you start to curve the hand, you start to soften the hand. We can still see the ring on a curved hand. Okay, we can still see the ring there. But bring that hand, just try something a little bit more natural, something around the back of the guy's neck here, or just to have a little pinch on the what the little trick that I've picked up with regards to wedding photography and engagement shoots. Just have them just pinch the lapel, or just pinch the collar, or just pinch it just like that, and you can still see the ring there, and just get them to pull them in there. What's really cool about this though is that you've got the moment just before the kiss. And the mistake new photographers often make is that they're trying to get the kiss, when actually the moment just before or just after the kiss is the magic moment. And got that lovely little bit of eye contact. Great sense of timing. I think she's just a little bit too hidden. Where her shoulder is here, just a preference from me, I like to see at least where the join of the elbow is on the arm, so that we've got a line sort of working around the picture, and that hand sort of coming out of nowhere and flooded in there. So just work on that hand, but the timing of the moment, the composition, and the perspective that you've chosen to shoot this from, keep doing that, because that's great. It's good stuff. Here we go with your passion for your motorsport with a car. And you can tell I don't have a passion for motorsport there. Lovely moment. Good use of light on this pic, good use of your natural light, good positioning on here. Let's try in future. I don't know what the deal is with the safety on these things, but I'm just thinking here, I love the puff of smoke around. It just creates a really, really cool frame. I'm just going to say two things about it actually. First of all, watch your exposure, because your cloud just behind here and just at the bottom here has lost all the detail, so we've gone almost into pure white there, and that's a shame, because when we see the left hand side here and we've got the backlighting, you've got dust and stones and texture and all this coming from, but the two areas here that are marking out here and here, bright white, no detail, and that's a real shame. Good use of high shutter speed on this to freeze all of the action around it though. So what we do have is we have this lovely cloud of smoke just going around here. Really dark around the edges. The vignette is drawing our eye to the action in the middle. What's the distracting factor here? This triangle of green on the right hand side. And that's a real shame, because it's not married up with anything else. And just looking at this real dramatic shot, I just think without that, and there are ways that you can Photoshop that out, you've actually got something that's a real editorial piece. That's a real magazine shot. That's a real one to show off the car because it's raw and it's rugged. And I just don't think, I think that green there, two things about it, it's not serving any purpose. And also it's distracting from, and it's fighting against the item in the middle, which we should be drawing our attention to. Good use of camera settings though, good use of light. Let's just tidy that element up at the end. So sometimes when you're doing these portfolio reviews, you sort of go through to sort of like photography 101 in terms of like the things that you do. And this is something that I've always enjoyed. I remember doing this back in the day. I remember doing this, the slow shutter speed pan to try and freeze the car but have the wheels blurred and also have the foreground and the background blurred as well. Let's see how close we got here. It's good, to be honest. Ain't bad at all. When we actually have a look at let's go back to so the technical. So let's park the technical side of it. The technical side of it with regards to the choice of shutter speed is pretty bang on. You could have gone even slower with this one and you'd have got even more blur. So the key to this is experiment and try different things. Try longer shutter speeds, try shorter shutter speeds and moving quicker, longer shutter speeds and moving slower, longer shutter speeds and moving slower, quicker. There's all sorts of different things you can do, and this is literally painting with light. This is raw photography. This is the stuff I like. Again, your exposure right on the edge with these top areas here where it's top lit from the high sun, the area on the bonnet here and the area here just going into white. So let's get a handle on that again just a little bit. It's always good just to go a little darker if you can rather than lighter. Here's an adjustment I believe could have been made later on, or you could go the other way. I'm just going to give you this as an option. So I'm going to bring my guide down. I'm just going to have a look at 2 points. We're going to have a look at the top of that horizon there, and we're going to have a look at the road here. There we go. And you'll see that they're on an angle. The road down here is lower than the road down here, but only on a slight angle. The horizon again here, the horizon is below the line and then it goes above the line when we get here. So the whole thing is just on that slight angle. Just a tiny little tilt, I think, might have helped the shot. The problem if you were to tilt this shot, actually let's just do it. Should we just do it? I never do this. I never affect other people's work, so I apologise in advance. But if we do tilt it so that everything's kind of straight like that, the car, it's not too bad actually. I thought it was gonna go a little bit wonky, but the car is actually there on a straight. So that could potentially work. You could even go sort of 45 degrees, even more so, and really go for an abstract shot where the car's running from the bottom left to the top right, or the top left to the bottom right. Really go abstract with it and go something a little bit different. Maybe that's an option. This is I love this portfolio review because you're giving me different things. This is like trying to tap into. People always say, "Well, stick to what you know," and this is allowing me to tap into every element of photography pretty much. We've done motorsport and sort of almost landscape, through to weddings, through to engagements, through to all kinds of different things. All about expression, this one, and what an expression there. What a great moment. Good high shutter speed, clean light. You've obviously got some sort of big window light around you here, which is allowing clean light all around. I'm not sure that the raggedy toys around the outside are a distraction or not. They make it feel quite homely, to be fair, which I quite like. Little bit of attention to detail. So let's have a look at our attention to detail again here. Okay, little bit of a ledge just in the top right hand side there. This element here just coming in as a triangle on the side isn't giving us a clean image. We've got some little bits of sort of fur and stuff in this little line here, which is taking away from an otherwise sort of clean floor. These two lines sort of either side here could have just been tidied up just a little bit. Maybe just that tighter crop bringing us in to the expression in the middle might have just worked. But yeah, fun little image, good timing, good high shutter speed, fast shutter speed, sorry. Yeah, really cool. Oh, this is what a lovely moment. What an absolutely lovely moment that is. He's holding a box, so I'm going to take a stab and just say he just proposed. I don't know. That's a guess. That's very assumptive of me, which is something I shouldn't do. It's good placement within the frame. The tonality works nicely. I love the tonality of the skin tones marrying up nicely with the tonality of the light coming through the trees in the background, marrying up with the tonality of the dress, marrying up with the neutrality of his shirt and her jacket. It's again, you've got you've simplified the angle, you know, pretty much everything else we've seen has had different angles and experimental, but this is so simple. Nice long lens choice, so you've separated our subjects from the background with a wide aperture, which is great, and what a lovely moment. Sometimes in photography, particularly with regards to competitions, we use a term called shots for show and shots for dough. So shots for show are like your real experimental collaborative pieces that have had a lot of work and attention to detail in them, and you send them through to competitions and all that kind of stuff. And then there's shots for dough. Every day of the week, on a website, on a social media account, on a leaflet, on a brochure, in an album, anywhere, this shot is going to make you money, because people are going to look at that shot and go, I want that moment, and don't they look like they're having fun, and doesn't that look like a happy memory? I haven't got a lot else to say about it. If the backlighting hitting the hair as well is just great. If you produce this work for every single one of your couples, you will make money in photography until you retire, unquestionably. Thank you for sharing. What a great shot. And the last one here, Zoe. Oh, this is let's have a look. Right, I'm going to do a little bit of key work here. We got some sort of, I would say some sort of LED lighting up there going up through. I could be wrong though, but it's a highlight coming through. Quite a heavy vignette on that one. So the background, what I mean by that is the background, the top, the sides, very, very dark coming through. But dogs are difficult to work with. Dogs are hard to control. And we've managed to get the point of focus on the eye there. And there's detail in the ear. It's a nice moment. It's a good dog portrait. And again, these dog portraits, they're quite classical. And they will, if you continue to do dog portraits, this style of dog portraiture will make you money. I'm once again not sure about control of the lighting over your background and how artificial that light is coming, you know, in and around the side, and whether it's too dark on the sides. But again, good control, good exposure, good control of your camera settings. Experiment with the placement. So if a dog's looking into space, maybe have it weighted on the rule of thirds so that there's more space. There's more space where the dog is looking rather than where the dog is from. This isn't a symmetrical image, but we're placed right in the middle of the frame. So have an experiment with that. But wow, what a selection! I'll tell you, like, there's so much, Stephen. There's so much experimenting in there, and I can tell, like, because anyone who's been in this industry any period of time will tell you that you go through a few years where you're really finding your feet. And you're trying to do everything, and you're trying to learn everything, you know, and you're experimenting, and you're trying to say. Now, I remember when I opened up my first, you know, photography business, and I was doing it. I was advertising, I was doing everything. I'm a photographer, I do everything. I still do everything, but my marketing's got more niche, if that makes sense. It's just great to see the enthusiasm. It's great to see the bravery of someone to put their images up for review. It's great to see someone who takes risks and takes chances and does things, you know, looks at things slightly differently. But most of all, what I would take away from this is the fact that you have an ability to make people look happy and to capture moments in terms of timing well. Your timing is good, man. Your timing's great. And there's certainly foundations here to move on. You know, you just got to work out what it is you want to do, and once you've worked out what you want to do and how you want to do it, you start creating your own style, and you'll start making, you know, a real success of this. But this is if this is a starting point, you know, or wherever, or if this is after a couple of years in, this is great. It really is, and you should take great credit for that, man. Because real pleasure to look at those images. Thank you very much. If you'd like your own portfolio review, you can get one. You can email me, portraitofawrestler@gmail.com. You can follow me on the Instagram and the Twitter. It's at Y2JimBob. It's Portrait of a Wrestler everywhere else. And as ever, all the very best.